on the why healing takes so long, but today we are talking specifically about what is the nervous system. And the reason I want us to talk about what is the nervous system is obviously for the reasons I mentioned earlier or in the previous video, that, in the healing, coaching, spiritual even spaces, we are now talking about the nervous system. We are talking about, I want to regulate my nervous system. Oh, my nervous system is not used to this. My nervous system, this, my nervous system. So it's a buzzword, and it's not technically, it's not wrong. There is a lot of truth in that. A lot of us have dysregulated nervous systems. Our nervous systems are holding a lot of trauma, a lot of pain. Our nervous system are not relaxed. They're stuck in fight, flight, or freeze, which is also known as survival mode. So whenever we talk of, hey, I need to get out of survival mode, or I'm always in survival mode, or I am in survival mode, we are literally talking about a nervous system condition. So for today, I want to take you through what exactly is this nervous system. So I want to talk about it from a scientific point of view. I promise I won't be long and I won't be boring you. And then I'll talk about it in the healing space point of view, and why is it that you sitting here listening to me right now, you cannot actually regulate your own nervous system. However, you can create an environment such that your nervous system gets regulated, and that's where the healing is. So you know that you are healed when you have a regulated nervous system. And that doesn't mean that your nervous system, you are always calm, you're always here, or you are always in some vibe as if you've taken ashwagandha, or you are on weed, that's not a regulated nervous system. In fact, that's a whole other problem. As time goes on, we will talk about plant medicine and psychedelics and what their uses are, and when to use them, when to not use them, and the no-go area. And no, psychedelics are not drugs. Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. Personally, I've never used them. I've never used any plant medicine. I've never even smoked weed, for that matter. But I have been studying it quite a lot, especially now with almost everybody on ashwagandha or talking about ashwagandha. So I thought it's probably worth your time, or worth my time, to do a bit of research, a bit of study, and a little bit of understanding, enough for us to talk about it here on the Living Village channel. But today we are talking the nervous system. So what exactly is the nervous system? Okay, so the nervous system has three categories, or three spheres, or three layers, depending on how you look at it, right? And now I'm talking scientific, I'm talking biological as well. So the first one is known as the central nervous system. So the central nervous system talks to what? The brain, the actual organ, brain in your head, and the spinal cord. So that is known as the central nervous system. Then we have the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is the nerves connecting the spinal cord and the brain to the rest of the body. So if you think of the nervous system as the picture that I've just put now, it is those nerves that now connect everything to everything else, but everything else is connected, or those nerves, the peripheral nervous system is linked to the spinal cord and the brain, but then it just feeds the entire body, okay, as per the image that I have put attached here. And then we have the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system is the one that we are mostly talking about when we are in the healing space. So the autonomic nervous system is the one that manages and controls things that you have nothing to do with, things like your heartbeat, things like digestion, things like your bloodstream, the way the blood moves, things like your breath, your breathing. It's controlled rather, and managed by the autonomic nervous system. And that is the area that usually us in the healing and teaching space are referring to when we are saying, your nervous system this, your nervous system this, because it is the autonomic nervous system that controls the fight, flight, freeze, fawn things. It's the one that's always scanning if I'm safe, is there a threat, is there this, is there that. And it's always active, and it is in charge of dealing with sending information of what it is sensing. So for an example, if you walk into a room and you see whatever you see, maybe you see a bunch of people who look very strange, and then your heartbeat starts racing and you start heating up, and something says, danger, something is off here, you need to run. That is your autonomic nervous system giving you information about the environment that it's seeing. It's similar to when you walk into a room and suddenly everything just relaxes. You just relax, you just feel safe, you just feel like you are able to just relax. That is the autonomic nervous system having scanned the space and then giving you information that we are fine, this is a safe space. If it is a safe space, because sometimes, given what had happened to you in your childhood or in your earlier life, sometimes what looks like a safe space for someone else's nervous system, it's not safe for you, if you know what I mean. You see, I'm getting a little complex, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. So what is safe for someone may not be safe for someone else's nervous system. But the point I'm making is that the autonomic nervous system is in charge of scanning the environment for safety so that it knows what to do, so that it knows that it's time to fight, it's time to run, it's time to freeze, it's time to fawn, it's time to do whatever. I'm not safe or am I safe, and so on. So it is clear, isn't it? The central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, peripheral nervous system, the rest of the nerves that are connecting the spinal cord and the brain to the rest of the body. Autonomic nervous system, it is the one that governs the things that make you conscious, the thing that makes you feel safe or not. It is essentially the stress management part of the nervous system. It's the one that we refer to whenever we say your nervous system this, your nervous system that, in the healing, coaching, spiritual space. Okay, now let's talk about a nervous system that is regulated or dysregulated. What does that mean? So, like I said, uh, the whole thing of regulating the nervous system is not about getting yourself to be calm all the time. That sometimes might be a sign of a completely dysregulated nervous system. You want a nervous system or an autonomic nervous system that is responsive properly to what is actually current and what is present. So you want your nervous system to be activated when it needs to be activated, just like the examples I used. If you walk into a space and it feels dangerous, and whether that danger is because really there is life danger here, there is a man with a gun, there is a man who's threatening everybody, there is a situation that can potentially be very dangerous. You want an activated, you want your nervous system to say run, fight, freeze, fawn, or whatever it is that will make you what? Safe at that moment. So if you are all calm and it's love and light and ignoring that danger, that's a sign of a dysregulated nervous system. Equally, when you overreact to things that are not threatening, things that are not necessarily meant to harm you, what we call triggered, this whole thing of being triggered, I'm triggered, I'm triggered. You are triggered by words on social media. You are triggered by this. That's also sometimes a sign of a dysregulated nervous system, because how can you be triggered by words someone posted? You are not in danger. Your immediate space right now, you are sitting at your desk or you are sitting at your couch looking at your phone, or you are at home, you are warm, you are fine, you are safe, but then you are triggered by the words that someone has said that causes danger and makes your heart palpitate and get you hot, or whatever the case is. Sometimes that's just a sign that you are quite dysregulated. You are in survival mode. You are always feeling threatened. Everything feels like a threat. And granted, whatever has been written on that social media post might be impacting or talking to something that has happened to you a long time ago or recently or whatever, and maybe the trigger is justified. But for the body to go into such a state for a long time, or where you find that you even have to go and type and fight back, that's dysregulation. And that's what we mean by a dysregulated nervous system. I mean, we can get into detail. Again, this is one of those things where it becomes a little bit easy to talk to someone who's sitting in front of you and we are talking about a real lived experience. But right now, I'm trying to be as generic as possible and hoping that you are grasping what you are grasping. So the whole thing of regulation, or my nervous system is dysregulated, it's yeah, it's dysregulated if it's responding almost inappropriately to something that is not dangerous. You are either overreacting or underreacting, because underreaction is also a sign of dysregulation. So a regulated, highly properly regulated nervous system is the one that does what? I am in a state of danger. and I need to run. And then you run, and then you are out of danger. Once you are safe at home or wherever you find it safe, you relax. A dysregulated nervous system is the one that says I am in danger, and then I run, and then I get into a safe place, and I'm still hyped up. I'm just not calming down. I'm not calming down. And that's what we mean by, okay, it is a bit dysregulated, which means you need a little bit of help getting yourself into a place of you are safe now. Everything is okay. You are out of danger. And that's when what? Trauma comes in. That's when you are traumatized because you are no longer in a space of danger, but you are still feeling like you are traumatized. And depending on what that is, it will talk to how deep or how long or how far that trauma goes. And that's when you need help. That's why we have trauma counselors. That's why we have clinical psychologists. That's why we have psychiatrists to help you regulate, to help your chemical um, balance out because it goes there. You see what I meant when I said it's a little broad and it's a little complex to explain in a YouTube video, but you get the gist of it. So regulation means I respond appropriately to what's in front of me, and when what's in front of me is gone, I am back to homeostasis. And homeostasis means I can rest and digest. I can rest and digest. Inability to rest, inability to relax is a sign of a slightly dysregulated nervous system. And my hand is up. I mean, you've been following the YouTube channel. If you've been following the YouTube channel or my newsletter or my social media post, or if you've just been my student, you know that rest had been a big part of my problem. It's better now. I can rest now. And I'll give you an example. Maybe it will help you. I used to not be able to take a nap during the day. Even now, I still struggle, but I try. And the reason is that no matter how tired I am, no matter how much I've been pushing and I'm tired and I deserve this nap, the moment buroko burbatla, but the nap comes, I would get such a panic, like a literal panic attack as to what the hell, what are you doing? Why are you sleeping? And the rationale would be, why are you sleeping during the day? Abantu bayasebenza wena ulele. And I used to pride myself with that, saying, "Oh no, I have a strong work ethic. I don't sleep during the day." And later, obviously, with my own therapy, my own coaches, then, it turned out that I have a highly dysregulated nervous system. And it shows up when I am tired, I need to take a break, I need to take a nap that is almost well deserved. And rest should not be deserved. Rest is part of everything. You don't deserve to rest. You rest because it is part of the process. You breathe in, you breathe out. You work, you rest. So you don't have to break your bones or break your back so that you feel like you deserve to rest. And that was what I needed to get into my head, that rest is not earned or deserved. It's part of the process. It's part of the work, if you know what I'm trying to say. So my nervous system was dysregulated because I could not stop. Stopping for me felt unsafe for reasons that I'll get to some other time. I won't get into now. You'll have to read my books to understand certain dynamics that I've gone through. Entrepreneurship as a journey, especially starting entrepreneurship in the 2000s, was highly traumatic for a lot of us. And the repercussions of it was just an highly dysregulated nervous system that showed up in an inability to just sit still and relax. So if you are unable to sit still and relax, you are most probably dysregulated. If you are numb, because numbness is also a dysregulation. When you just can't, nothing moves you, and you pride yourself of being just calm. I don't, no, I'm just calm. You're not calm. You are numb. Calm is a whole other interesting thing, which we'll get to. Sorry, I know I keep saying we'll get to, but we will, and we do. you know. So yeah, the whole regulation and dysregulation, I just needed to give a little bit more time to it. What else do I need to share with you about the nervous system on this video? Let me see my notes. So the big one, can you regulate your nervous system? Ha, the immediate answer is no, but there's a small yes. There's a small yes. But the big answer is no, because of just the dynamic that I've just explained, how the body works. So it happens automatically. The autonomic the autonomic nervous system automates a lot of these things, but you can influence your space, and you can indirectly influence your nervous system to calm down or to get into some form of homeostasis, get into some regulation mode. And this is where the modalities comes in. This is where your meditations come in, your breath work comes in, movement comes in, yoga comes in, sleep and rest comes in. This is where safe spaces and safe relationships come in. This is where boundaries come in. Boundaries are a big, big part of helping you regulate your nervous system. And this is why a lot of people go there like, oh, you know what? I'm going to put boundaries in place because my nervous system, I need to regulate. Yes, yes, boundaries help a lot with influencing your nervous system to just regulate. This is where body awareness comes in. Once you calm down or once you just get into the body and be aware of it, just that awareness of the body will help you regulate. Let's use the example of being triggered. You've just been triggered by a post or by something you heard on radio or on a podcast or whatever, but it really, really triggered you to a point where you are physically in a state. Your heartbeat is high, you are hot, you feel like you're getting an anxiety attack of some sort. Then you stop and you take a breath, slow one, and you just be aware of the body. You are aware of the body and you can feel that your heartbeat is going. And for whatever reason, just that act of watching your body calms it down a little bit. It brings it slightly slower. So basically, you are almost hacking your body to say, not even hacking, you are literally telling your body that no, we are safe, we are not in danger, we are okay. Okay, so that's the body awareness thing. And then you allowing emotions to move through. If you're my client or my student, I say this at nauseam, that you allow. I'm one of the few people I think I know that when someone says, oh, I was triggered and whatever, and I cried, and then I felt better. I'm the one that always gets so happy when people tell me they were crying, because crying is the biggest regulator because it's a big release. So we'll talk about crying maybe as a separate video. It might be a short video, but I think it's worth a video on its own because there are different tears, there are different cries, and they do different things. There's that deep cry that releases grief that you feel deep, deep down in your belly. And then there's the head cry, and then there's all sorts of cries, right? So crying is also another way that you can help your nervous system regulate. That's why that's why I worry so much about men. I remember there's a video I did a while back about where I wanted men to cry, and someone did comment, and we had a thing about it. But yes, crying is the best regulator of the nervous system. And I think to a certain extent, women know this, and that's why women cry slightly easier. Not all women, but we cry slightly easier than our brothers and the men folk. What else helps with regulating or indirectly regulating your nervous system? Safe spaces, creating environments that make you safe, that create safety for you. Hopefully, those are healthy safety stuff, not old patterns, not that false safety that you created because, it's the familiar. Watch the previous video to know what I'm talking about. So there's a safety that's created by chaos, by an environment that is toxic, but because your nervous system is used to that, so, it's safe. I don't mean that. I mean, really literally allowing yourself to be in a proper safe space. Okay. Yeah, so those you want to change. You want to change that environment because it's constantly communicating danger, but your nervous system thinks it's safety and it's not, and we need you to heal and move away from all of that. And that's why healing requires nervous system regulation, or rather requires is about a nervous system that is regulated, because if your nervous system is dysregulated and it's constantly in survival mode, and your survival mode, for an example, associates intimacy with danger, it associates rest and relaxation with guilt and anxiety, like me. If your nervous system feels that being visible, voicing out your thoughts, whether at the boardroom or at home or on social media, is a threat, it's unsafe. Um, if your nervous system feels like boundaries will cut you off, they will make you not feel like you belong or people won't like you. If your nervous system, for an example, feels like healthy love with someone who genuinely cares for you is unfamiliar and unsafe, you will always be dysregulated in those spaces. So you want to understand that. You want to understand that the reason you are not getting the right intimate partner that you so claim to want is because intimacy, true safe spaces with a partner does not feel safe for the nervous system. I was watching my friend Busisi Lesho's episode on the Penwell show, and she touched on it quite beautifully that around money. Busisi Lesho is a money coach, and she says that if your nervous system is used to 10,000, well, she didn't use those words, but I'm using that as an example, it's going to have a problem if there's 50,000 or 100,000. Your nervous system is going to scream so hard and you're going to blow it until you get to 10,000. And the opposite is true, where you can't get to now 500. You have to be here. And so the challenge is you need to just push through that so that you train your nervous system that a lot of money is okay. Charging very, very high fees is okay, and wrestle with that. You'd rather wrestle with that, but you are moving on. Okay. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope this helped you understand a little bit of why is it that we keep talking about the nervous system. And in the next video, I want to talk about these modalities that we use, like your breath work, the good and the bad of breath work, because breath work is amazing. I use it, but there's a time where it could do more harm than good, and I'll touch on that. And because it might be a short video, I will probably just talk about the modalities that we use in the coaching and healing space, and they are good and the bad, when to use it, when to not use it. Maybe let's not say good or bad. Let's say when to use it and when not to use it. Because, if I say good or bad, then, I'm using a very bad distinction for a modality that has been used for centuries. So breathwork is good, but there's a time where breathwork is you may not benefit from it. It might just not help. And we'll get there maybe in the next video. With that said, this is my story. I cannot wait to hear yours.